Muksa, there's no ancient picture over here. Okay, this is the last ancient picture, and this is the only malacha that has 2 pages. Before we start, I got to tell you that more has been written about this malacha than any other single mitzvah in all of the Talmud, Shulchan Aruch. It is the most, even though this is only 1/39th of the laws of Shabbos. Forget about just Shabbos. More is written about this than any other mitzvah. More than this, there's on all of kashrus, all of brachas, all of everything. This particular malacha is a killer. Okay, so now what you guys need to know is actually not that much. What is so complicated is if you have to carry outside of your home, making an eruv is the issues that are so unbelievably complicated. We're not going to deal with that, because if you ever are in a situation you need to make an eruv, bring a rabbi over, have him look at your specific situation. Even getting an eruv around your yard or even in your apartment building. They say, oh, I can carry in my apartment building. Who says? You can carry in your apartment. Who says you can carry in the hallway, which is owned by a bunch of people together? Are they all Jews? Not? Have you had an agreement or contract written up with them? I mean, it is complicated. Anytime you're dealing with this, it's a problem. Now, Shmuel and Yael are in an excellent situation. They're living in Israel. They're living in Jerusalem. Don't have to worry about it, okay? The eruv is excellent in Jerusalem. There are places where it's super excellent, like in Neve Yaakov, and where Shmuel is, it's excellent, okay? It's not as good as Neve Yaakov, but definitely can be relied upon. So Shmuel and Yael can walk outside, carry their baby, no problem. Anybody here becoming Sephardic? Just remind me. No. Okay. Wait, Yoshua? You are planning on becoming Sephardic? Or no? Okay. If you become Sephardic, this mitzvah becomes more difficult. Because just for a moment, let's take a look. Let me pick this thing up and do the old camera thing. Here, 1 second. How do I switch it? There we go. Okay. Let's take a look at the picture. This picture has got so much in it, it's unbelievable, okay? The Sephardim will hold that if I've got this thing over here, I can do this thing that looks like a entranceway on a minority of the enclosure, and you're okay. Ashkenazim hold I can have this not only as the majority, I can have this as the entire 100% of the eruv. In other words, you can walk in and out of it. There's no walls. The Sephardim hold it has to be mainly enclosed with minor breaks that are covered over. This makes carrying in nearly any eruv in the world almost impossible for a Sephardic person. So you will see if you are strictly going by Sephardic law, nearly nobody carries. But, that being said, Rabbi Ovadia Yosef, may he rest in peace, who died approximately 4 years ago, who was the head of the Sephardic community here in Israel, and one of the biggest chachamim in the past few generations. He held that Sephardim who are living in mainly Ashkenazic places, or places where the Eruvs are generally run, the communities running on this, have what to rely on somewhat. Okay? Therefore, if you're becoming Sephardic, don't look at what your Ashkenazic brothers and sisters are doing. Ignore them. Go to your Sephardic Rav and ask him, are you allowed to depend on the Ashkenazic Eruv? Even though the guy who makes the Eruv is tripping over his beard and his payas are dragging on the floor, that doesn't mean that you, as a Sephardic person, can hold his Eruv. Okay? You have to find out what the Sephardic community in your area, what is the opinion that they are relying on. Okay? Or not relying upon. Okay, let's start. More than the Jews kept the Shabbos kept the Jews. There are many misconceptions of Shabbos in the Jewish community, they're going to be dispelled with this malacha. We'll get to it in about a minute. Let's just say that let's start with our 4 types of Eruv. Here we go. I'm going to show that written down here. So let it get clear. Takes it a moment. I know you can't see it yet. Hold on. There it goes. A, B, C, and D. Just write them down. We'll discuss it in a moment. Eruv Chatzeros. That's number 1. Then B is Shitufei Mivoos. A and B are very connected. Put a parenthesis around A and B or a circle. They are B is a continuation of A. Then something completely different, which is C, Eruv Tchumim, which is also for Shabbos. And then D, we didn't already. Whoever learned Yom Tov, it's Eruv. Nobody here did. Eruv Tavshilim is an issue specifically for Yom Tov, and is not specifically dealing only with Shabbos issue. Okay, now. Everyone got that written down? I can turn back to normal? Okay. As my wife says, who's normal? Anyway, okay. Eruv literally translates as, look at the thing with the hands. It goes like this. As co-mingling. I'm taking things and I'm mingling them together. Turn that thing on. Good, she answered it. So that's what Eruv means. Arave, to combine or to co-mingle. As you know, the last malacha is, like it says here in this, ancient picture here. Okay, the guy's in his house, and this guy is on the main street. He's in the public domain. This guy putting the loaf of bread into his hands, or him putting it into this guy's hands, is a death sentence, okay? This is an absolute dioraisa, okay? So now, you cannot carry anything from a public domain to a private, or from a private to a public, or within the public, you cannot walk 4 amos, which is approximately 2 yards, 2 meters, okay? In the construction of the Mishkan, what is this malacha? Where's it coming from? Let's go back to page 16. Okay? Here we are. All right. So you don't even have to turn. I can do it for you right here. So here we go. We've got the beams, which are these guys, the sticks, right, and all the materials that are going to make this. We are on the main street. 600,000 people are going through in the wilderness. By the way, if you look at the Sinai Peninsula, it has got one of the most obvious miracles still there. It says in the Midrash, it says in Rashi actually, that Hashem flattened out the mountains and raised up the valleys for the Jews to get through the Sinai Peninsula. Now, most of the Sinai Peninsula, I've been there, is flat. It's a desert, okay? But there is a very large mountain range. There might be a few of them, okay? Through one of the mountain ranges, where if you follow the map of how the Jews go through, they would have been having to carry stuff up and down mountains that are similar to the Alps. Humongous things. And if you look, there is one place where the mountains, just as a little path, not a little path, it's like about 100 yards wide. It's just this complete break, and it's flat. It goes right through the mountain thing. Okay? Through the entire range. And it still exists to this day. And you can see, I have a neighbor who has a poster that he puts in his sukkah, which is an aerial view from feet up. You can see the entire mountain range, and there's this right through it. It's mamish amazing. Okay? So anyway, so now they were carrying these things, and through this street of 600,000 people, okay, quite wide, so they could, get through everybody. And now they go to an enclosed area. Okay, whether you call this public or private isn't the issue. They're carrying it more than 2 meters, okay, and they're building this thing. So they're taking from this, even though this is owned by the public, it's considered a private domain by its structure. They're bringing it into the public. They're carrying it within the public, and then they're constructing it. Okay, so that's where the malacha comes from. Okay, without that, you can't construct the Mishkan. So what an Eruv does is it takes, when Eruv, the first one, Eruv Chatzerot. An Eruv Chatzerot is, let's say, I have Josh's apartment, Shmuel's apartment, Zalman's apartment. Everyone's Jewish now. We decide we'd like our children to play here. We'd like them to play their ball. Okay, so what do? Well, we just make a little structure, right? We close over the entrance with a little arch, and that does it, right? Wrong! That doesn't fix the whole problem. I need this. They don't break the wall. You don't have to break the wall of your apartment, don't worry. This is just looking through. Inside one of the apartments, they have either, wine, matzah, something which is not going to go bad. And at the beginning of each year, traditionally done, the right before Passover starts. Okay, so you have something, you've got matzah. It's not going bad. It already is bad. Okay, it's going to stay there. So it's going to stay there for the whole year. No bug would dare eat it. So now this is set aside. I think they're knocking for me. Just 1 second. Hold on. Hello? No, good. So this is put aside in one of our apartments. Okay, the 3 of us own here. So in Shmuel's apartment, he takes the matzah and whatever it is, and he says a bracha, and he gives it to somebody else and says, lift this up and buy it for everybody. Take possession of it for everybody inside. This matzah, which is now going to be sitting on my top shelf and sitting there all year, is everybody's food. Everybody owns it. I don't own it anymore. We all own it together. Once we all own it together, so now I have the right to knock on Shmuel's door and barge in and grab my matzah because he's holding my piece of matzah hostage. Okay, and because I have the right to enter his apartment, he can come into my apartment and say, hey, surprise! Okay, now this means that we all are, I know this doesn't sound well, especially by a very right-wing person, but, we're in a commune together. This is like communism. Okay, so we all own it together. Now, this does not really mean that Shmuel is not coming into my door without knocking, right? This is not really what's happening. But what it is we each, by doing this, co-own each other's property for the rights of this. In other words, I take that matzah to my home. Well, part of that matzah is his. He now has the right to come into my apartment and grab the rest of it. Either one of us can grab the Eruv and take it to our place, and the other people then have the rights to come in. That right to come in and grab their possession means that the apartment is no longer somebody else's. We all own it together. So therefore, the yards and everything, now it's got the structure of a fence around it, and it's got the co-owned thing in one of those apartments within the structure. Now, everybody can play ball out here, play with their strollers, do whatever they want in this enclosed area. That is the first thing called Eruv Chatzeros. Well, that's cute when I have 3 or 4 homes and a yard around and a fence around it. What happens when I'm in Jerusalem and I have a city? Now we have the second one, Shitufei Mevaot, which means the commingling. That's a different word. Okay, it means partnership of allies. Okay, what that means is this larger whole thing where it continues. It's not just Shmuel, Josh, and Zalman's. It's this next little house over here, which is connected by that beam, and this fence going around there with the apartment building over there, and the shul, which is over there, and the whole thing. I have different Eruvei Chatzerot, different places where people have already made an Eruv, and then I combine those areas which are no longer individual. In other words, I've got Group A, Group B, Group C. Everyone there has done their own Eruv. Now I go and I say, it's all going to be considered Group 1. A, B, and C is subsets of 1, which means I have to have the structure around the entire city. In Jerusalem, there's a fence around the entire city. The fence is stick with string, stick and string, stick and string. It then attaches to certain cliffs. A cliff, depending on how high the angle is considered like a wall. Okay, it attaches to many other things. You've got a river. Is it considered a barrier or not considered a barrier? Walls, external walls of the building can be considered. In other words, when you make an Eruv in a small community, you need to know a lot before you make an Eruv, especially when you're dealing with some goyish, something like that, and they're trying to make an Eruv in the middle of a goyish city without the goyim, starting a pogrom. I mean, how are you going to do this? Okay, you need to figure this out. So you now combine these things. Now you can carry within the entire city. Not so simple, because there are many things that you can't make an Eruv over. For example, if you're in Manhattan, and I have Broadway, Amsterdam, and West End, these, and Madison Avenue, these 4 avenues, so big, or Brooklyn, Ocean Parkway. These places have more than 600,000 people on the street in a day. A street that either does or can, by its size, hold 600,000 people crossing, not in one moment, over the course of 24 hours, is considered a public thoroughfare d'oraisa and cannot have an Eruv placed over it. So therefore, in Brooklyn, you've got 2 sides of Ocean Parkway. You live on the right side, the north side, and your shul's on the south side. I mean, it's only across the street. It's the next building. Your son has a bris. You can't carry your son there. You can't carry the knife there. Nothing. You can't push the stroller there. You can't cross the street, either carrying or pushing something. Which means you have a bris of your child. You want it at that shul. This Shabbos, you're sleeping at your friend's house across the street, because you cannot make an Eruv over Ocean Parkway. Okay? We have the same thing in Israel in the main street between Tel Aviv, going down to, I forgot what it's called. Okay, but there are streets like this. Now, according to Rashi, it's not that it has 600,000 people. It's that the size would allow 600,000 people to go through. If you figure how many people can fit into a carriage, everybody's going and nobody's stopping, and there's no accidents, and he figured out how wide this needs to be, which is 16 amos, which is only 8 meters, 8 yards. Most public streets today are that big. Now, the general opinion is not like Rashi. The general opinion is only if it actually has 600,000 people on it. But there are many people who you will hear, well, the rabbi does, the rabbi makes the Eruv, but the rabbi doesn't hold of the Eruv, because the rabbi wants to be stringent, like Rashi. I'm not telling people what to do, what not to do, okay? Also, it's not just the size of the street, it's does the street go from one end of the city to the other. This picture is very exact. Okay, look at this. The street goes from one end straight through to the other. It does not bend around and go through. No, it goes straight through. So therefore, there are streets like this, Ocean Parkway, Broadway, Madison Avenue, boom, right? No, one end to the other, okay? There is no turning, okay? These things are problems. But most local streets in the city, they're going all over the place, even by Rashi, aren't a problem. Okay, how to define what's called a turn, what's not called a turn, what's going all the way through, what's not. All this. This is why what's written on the Eruvim is so darn long and very complicated. Okay, okay. So we're not going to go into that. It's useless because it'll take you forever. Okay, all right. Throughout Jewish history, we're going to break down a myth. Throughout Jewish history, Jews have lived in the ghetto. The word has unfortunately developed amongst the non-religious negative connotations. Actually, the ghetto has historically been self-imposed. Not only self-imposed, no, the Jews made the ghettos. Not only self-imposed, they paid more money able to live inside the ghetto. Just like today. Jews, I'm not talking about the Warsaw Ghetto when people are out to try to kill you, okay? That's what people remember. They hear the word and all of a sudden they're like, ich! Okay, well, hello, let's take a look at 2,600 years of history outside of Israel from the time of the first destruction, okay? Most of the laws of Eruvim map out exactly for us major Jewish towns in Babylon. I and some of my friends, if we sat together, could draw you the streets of Matamachsia, Sura, Popadita, a bunch of others, where all of the different possible problems that could ever happen in an Eruv existed, and how they made an Eruv in these Jewish towns. So the Jews, when they went to Babylon, specifically lived together. When Yaakov went to Mitzrayim, he sent Yehuda first to set up a yeshiva, and so they make sure that Yosef would have them living in Goshen alone and separate from the other people. Am levadad yishkon. The Jews have always lived alone. That means my kids play with other Jews. I'm living with them in Eruv. It costs more money to live in Eruv. The Jews want to live there because it's, we can all carry and live life. If you're living outside the Eruv, you're partially paralyzed one day a week. The day of the week that you're free and able to do things with your family. It makes life difficult. Not have an Eruv. Having the Eruv makes you live in an area where there's a shul probably across the street. Your kids got Jewish schools all over the place. Your wife has friends who are from Jewish people. This mitzvah has kept the Jewish community alive more than any other mitzvah. And consequently, the details on this are voluminous, okay? Okay. All right, so now, here, let's go on. On a larger scale, a city can commingle many of these smaller Eruvei Chatzerot into a larger area called the Shitufei Mavaot. No one uses the term except for when people are making it. They just call the Shitufei Mavaot. They call it the Eruv. Okay? That's the city Eruv, is the Shitufei Mavaot. Many times outside of Eretz Yisrael, and sometimes in Eretz Yisrael, we find ourselves outside of the Eruv. In such situations, you cannot even carry your key, nor can you push a stroller, nor can you carry a baby. If the baby is 2 years old and walks on his own, so carrying him is only d'Rabbanan, because he's carrying himself partially by adjusting his weight, but it's still usher. If he's, a little kid who doesn't walk, he's what we call dead weight. Okay, and that is like me carrying a stone. That's the d'oraisa. Either way, you can't carry a kid. Other examples would be walking while holding your sunglasses or holding your glasses. You're walking outside, and then you're like, "Oh, let me," pulling out a handkerchief in your pocket, or even having the handkerchief in your pocket. That's called carrying. Putting my key around my neck. Can't do it. How am I going to get into my house? We'll deal with it. Okay. How about you have a new shirt? A new shirt. I say new shirt. If you're not Jewish, everyone's shirts are like this. You may notice on my shirt where we normally have those two buttons, I have just little strings left, right? As soon as I take any shirt, even if it's one I'm not going to wear on Shabbos, because your child can go fling with the soup and it goes all over you, and you need another shirt and you don't have one from Shabbos, you take a weekday shirt. Every shirt I own, those extra buttons are removed before Shabbos. Why? If I walk outside the Eruv, which won't have been to my home, you go walk and there's a forest down a few blocks away. It's very pretty. Yeah, but the forest is not inside the Eruv. The minute I step outside the Eruv, those buttons which are attached to my shirt, what are they there for? Are they there for beauty? If it's a double-breasted suit, or like ladies' things where they put buttons just because, I don't know, they think it looks pretty, whatever. That's part of the garment. But those buttons that are inside the bottom of my shirt, where I tuck it into my pants, what are they there for? They're there for when one of my buttons falls off. That means it's being stored away for future use. It's not part of the garment. Even though it's sewed onto the garment, it's not part of the garment. And therefore, it is considered an extra thing that's being carried, just like a tissue in my pocket is being carried. Or just like sunglasses that are put up. Is that called wearing sunglasses? Really? It's kind of waiting for the time when you will need them. Okay, so what about a watch? Depends. This watch cost, what was that, $11 or something like that? I got it like 6 years ago. If I hit the stone wall and it breaks, straight to the garbage. If you think I'm going to spend $25 to get the thing fixed when it costs $11, you've lost your mind, okay? If it breaks, straight to the garbage bin. So therefore, this is something which I don't consider jewelry. It's not something that I'm going to take care of, no matter what. And it's so cheap. If it breaks, it's getting tossed, which means I'll say, oh, it broke. You're carrying it. Or even when it's broken, it's no longer functioning, and you keep it on your hand, you're not carrying it. You're not wearing it because this is gold and beautiful. You're carrying it because you think that you're not carrying. But it's on your hand. That's called carrying when it's broken. So I happened to have a watch when my father, may rest in peace, died. So I inherited his fancy watch. I take it out only for Shabbos. Okay, that watch, if it broke, it's worth a lot. And I would, just as it is, it's got gold and everything on it. It's one of these things that it's considered a piece of jewelry. Jewelry is fine. Or any watch like a cheapo thing, can't have a watch like that on outside the Eruv. Okay? Yeah. They're part of you. That's fine. It's just like braces and other dental wear. For example, if you have a bridge or something you put in and it comes out and you have to wash it, dentures that go in and out, it's part of you. It's fine. Okay? But a cane can be different. Okay? Wheelchair, very different issue. In these situations, you need to speak to Rav, and it depends on what the situation is. Are you in a Derabanan area? Are you in a Dioraisa area? Is there anything to be lenient upon? Ask the Rav in your area, depending on the situation that you have. Okay? It's not simple, person that's in a wheelchair. Okay? I know a number of rabbis who have a wheelchair, and if they're not in the Eruv, they have a minyan in their house on Shabbos, and people come to them. Doesn't mean that there's never a situation that it's okay, but it does mean it's not simple. Okay? Okay. What about your talis? I'll just fling it over my shoulder. Well, let me show you. I take a thing and I fling it over my shoulder like this, and I'm walking to shul because I think that, hey, I'm wearing it. Well, the tallis is made, it's made to be worn like this. That's fine. That's your clothing. This, that's the same thing as doing this with sunglasses. It's not wearing them. And therefore, 1 second. Come back. If you don't have an Eruv, I mean, Shmuel doesn't have to worry about this, but do you want to carry your towels over your shoulder? Have fun. Josh has got, I'm assuming you're not in an Eruv, okay? You have to wear it completely. But it looks a little strange, I mean, I don't want people throwing rocks at me, dirty Jew or whatever it is. Well, if that's the situation, get your towels to the synagogue before Shabbos. Okay? What about, a child can walk a little bit, but he still needs diapers. So we'll walk to the shul. What am I going to do about diapers? Find a place in the shul, speak to the janitor beforehand, they won't throw it out, have a bag of your diapers sitting at the shul. You'll walk with the kid, he'll walk with you. You can hold his hand, but you cannot carry the diapers. Okay? And of course, diaper wipes, we all know, are a problem. Okay? You need to use dry tissue. You can spritz with some liquid or whatever it is, but you can't use those things because it's like sucking. It's like wringing out. Okay. Okay. What about, it got a little hot, it was cold in the morning, and now I'm going to take my sweater off because it's hot. And I put my sweater over my arm. Wrong. You want to stop where you are, take the sweater off without moving and tie the sweater around your neck with the back part. There are plenty of people who, that's how they wear the sweater. Just like women wear a shawl. It slightly keeps you warm, but it's not yet hot enough to have the thing on you. That is considered a way that people will. They'll even go into a business meeting with it. An Izod sweater over their back, and the sleeves, go with a little like that. Fine. Okay, that's not called carrying it. That's called a method of wearing it. Okay, it's like keeping your back warm or whatever, but you're not schwitzing in the thing. Okay, so schwitzing means sweating. So anyway, all right. So now, children cannot play ball outside their home if there's no Eruv. Even in their own yard, there is a broken fence. Meaning, you ever drove your car into your driveway? Well, do you have an archway over your driveway? No. Well, so who says you can have your kid play in your yard? How big is the break? Does it need an archway? Does it not need an archway? We have to measure it. We have to see what's going on. Right? Again, any situation that you want to use your private yard, even if you got a fence around it, bring the rabbi over, have him check, is the fence kosher or not? Okay? Is the break too big or not? Basically what you're understanding from this is extremely hard to live outside of an Eruv. And therefore, at this point in the Beis Din, usually the Dayanim, judges, say to the people, are you aware that when you become Jewish, your money is no longer your own? Now, this doesn't mean you're going to turn on the television on Sunday morning and have some guy asking you, he's going to save you and, make you walk again and, take all my money, please. Okay? As these ministers do or whatever it is. That's not the situation. What they mean here is kosher food costs a lot more. Sending your kids to a private religious school is a lot more than public education. Living in a situation where you can have a comfortable life, which means in the Eruv, the houses can be, like in my brother's area, almost twice the price. They're not better houses. It's just the other side of town. So it's a lot. This mitzvah is very hard. But as you saw in the beginning, this is what kept the Jewish community together. And the stringencies on Eruv, there are not a lot of leniencies. this particular mitzvah, there's not a lot of playing around with. Specifically because once you play around with it, you end up living in goyish areas. You end up having situations where people mingle with people they shouldn't be, where the neighbors are not what they want them to be. This mitzvah has kept us together, and there is not much playing around. Okay? And yes, it costs a fortune. Okay? Okay. Carrying is not defined holding in your hand. And so I said before, having a key around your neck doesn't help, doesn't solve the problem. Defines. Let me get you a Shabbos belt. I'm going to be back in about 1 minute. I'm going to show you what a Shabbos belt is. 1 second. Okay, here we go. Here's the principle. You can't carry the key. If I do what I do during the week, which is I have my belt and I have a hook here and I just attach my key, that's the same thing as holding it in my hand. There's no distinction. The only way I can take a key is if the key is part of my clothing. Meaning, if the key is not there, my belt falls down. But the key, hello?
Listen, איפה listen, Jetty? If they green to outside to the hop or the green to inside?
Outside should look nicer.
Okay.
Okay. Wait, let me give you the thing to give the Hananya. 1 second. 1 minute. 1 minute, guys.
Yes.
That's challah?
Hello.
Take it. Okay. This means forget your regular belt. Okay? Don't add this to your belt. Take your belt off. This thing, which you can get on the internet, I'll tell you where to order it. Okay? There are better ones than this. This is a good one. Okay? This will become your belt. Okay? There are, and you can get them with a series of many of these things. You take these little things like this. Okay? You take a key. A single key. Forget about all my keys here. It won't work if you have more than one. Like this. If you want to have 3 keys, you have to have like 6 of these things in a link. Okay? You now would take this, put this through here, put the other end through here also. That means pretend the other keys are not here, okay? This means if the key falls down, if the key is not there, then, surprise, surprise, my belt falls off and my pants are on the floor. Okay? The key has got to be a link of something that you need for clothing purposes. Now, for women who don't have belts, there are other very good things that they have. There are cheap, don't worry about it, Shmuel, it's cheap, okay? They make pieces of plastic jewelry. They look very nice, plastic diamonds, you can get them whatever colors you want, pink, purple, green, whatever color dress she wants. The things are like that. They're like about $5 a bracelet. But the bracelet is held together with a little clip that attaches to a key. If the key isn't there, the bracelet is on the floor. Okay? There are other things. If you're fancy schmancy, anybody likes to spend money, and if you'd rather spend money on nice, like, supporting a family of 8 children in Israel. Other than this, okay, great. But if you go to Antwerp, to the diamond dealers over there, which are already, ask them for pictures of their Shabbos pins. What they have is like a brooch that either the key is decorated with real diamonds. Okay. Yes, it's removable. When it breaks or they move or whatever it is. Okay. Or you stick the very pretty brooch, which is thousands of dollars, through something that it locks, and on the inside is the key. Without the key, it's the other part of the lock. So you've got the fancy, expensive thing on the outside, but the mechanical thing that makes your diamonds not part of the sidewalk is your $1 key. Okay? So we have belts, bracelets, pins, and brooches. That's it. Okay, they could make it for a tie clip. For guys, I have seen, excusing my secularism, okay, in my earlier lifestyle. You remember what a roach clip is? The thing to hold the marijuana cigarette, right? Okay, it looks like a little alligator mouth. Okay, they take one side of that and they saw it off, and they make the key the other part, so that the front beautiful part of the tie clip, okay, is attached to a roach clip that they cut off the bottom part, solder on the key. Okay, so that the key is not just there. Without the key, your tie clip falls off, and then when you want to have soup, your soup and your tie become one. Okay, so therefore these are practical parts of your clothing. Now, I suggest that anybody living outside of Nerov, or even Shmuel and Yael, if you're ever planning on going back to visit your parents, order this on the internet. Here's the way to get it. Okay, the easiest place, and it has the largest selection, and by the way, you can find so many other products from them. It's a store in Brooklyn, and they ship all over the world. They bring in Shabbos products. They have an amazing selection. Eichler's Bookstore. EICHLERS. Eichler's. EICHLERS. What you do, Eichler's Bookstore, Brooklyn, New York. When you get to that site, then look up Shabbos products. When you get to Shabbos products, you can see there'll be Shabbos belts, tie tacks, bracelets. Okay, they're also going to have Shabbos lights. They'll have all types of things. You look at, basically, it's not a bookstore only. Things that you need. Okay, another one is Kosher Innovations. They have these types of things also. It's another site, Kosher Innovations. It's not Eichler's, it's its own company. They make the Shabbos light. They make a bunch of other very nice things. Okay, yes, they do. They have a very good. They're quite good. Okay, I think the Eichler's has a larger selection. But what you're looking for the Shabbos belt. Now, here's the thing, Shmuel and Yael, you got to look at this. This is really hard. Okay, I don't know how. I got to show this also for Shiur to understand this. You notice that this belt stretches. There's a reason for this. If I'm walking, take a look at this and try to get the doorway. If this is my house, and most doors go in, doors go out. Doors go in to the house, right? So pretend this is outside. I pretend this is my house. Okay? So if I'm going to go here, let me get this thing slightly different angled. So see the handle. Put it in the chair. If I have this key around myself, and I go over to the door, and I take it off my belt as I'm standing here. And now I put it into the thing, and I open the door. My key just went from public domain to private domain. Even if I'm in my apartment building, which doesn't have an A-roof, I'm in the hallway of my building, which doesn't have an A-roof in it, okay, because I've got Chris Christopherson living across the street and Mahmoud Machelflak living downstairs, okay? It's not my hallway. It's everybody's hallway. So I just went from public to private. So the only way to deal with this is, if my key, which is part of my belt, remember there's only one key. Yes, okay, you can have a series of 3 or 4 of them if you need to get into the building complex, then you need to get into your building, then you need to get into your apartment. Yes, it can be done, okay? They have like 6 of these things, boom, 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 boom. So, any one of the keys falls off, then that link breaks, but it's many different links. It's not more than one key at each link. It's one link, another link, another link, okay? And you can order when you get to Eichler's site, okay? What this belt does with the elastic is, it's here. I don't take it off. I just go, and then as soon as when I open the door, it goes right back to me, right? As it's going through, it's still part of it. I never took it off the belt. I never detached it, not even for a second. And I'm able to move it because it's elastic. That's the ingeniousness of this belt. What we used to have to do before the invention of this belt, what would be stand here under the belt, get the key off, put the thing in, just make the door slightly ajar, get your foot there, holding it so that the lock is disengaged, put the thing back on, close the belt again, then walk through. Yeah, right. Go buy the thing at Eichler's. Anyway, okay. Same thing with these women's bracelets, by the way. If this is a very hard action for you to do with your wrists, okay, they usually are elasticy a little bit, but it's hard, then yes, what the women have to do is take the bracelet off, open the door, unlock it, put your foot in enough so that the door is just, the lock is just disengaged, but the key is not past the threshold. Take the key out, put the bracelet back on, go through. And when I'm leaving my house, same thing. I leave the house, the bracelet's on. I shut the door. I stand in one place, take the bracelet off, lock the door, slip the bracelet back on. Okay? Okay. As long as you're not moving more than 2 meters to 2 yards in the public domain, or that you're not moving from private to public or public to private. The doorway is moving from public to private and private to public. When I'm in the hallway and I'm now putting my bracelet on, don't start walking as you're putting the bracelet on, because 2 meters is approximately 4 steps. And so basically, you got to be very careful. Okay? Now, you can't make this belt on Shabbos, okay, out of something, because it would be makam. Before, they're like making the final hammer blow, building it. What we used to do before this, I made for my son when he moved to Vienna years ago. So before the advent of El Magnificent over here, you would take a regular belt, and you would take this part, the thing that has this, break it, open up this thing, put a key through here, okay? And the key, now you would then make a hole in your belt large enough that the key could go through, and it was a functional part of the belt, okay? That's what was done for generations. This makes life simple, okay? And it's cheap. Okay. Putting an A-roof around an area where even one non-Jew is living creates sometimes unsurmountable problems. So now you may say, okay, but even in Jerusalem, there are non-Jews here or there. Okay, there are reasons that people who don't hold of an Eruv, don't hold of an Eruv. Because there are some pretty hairy areas. Does this fit into the situation or not? When we look at Machsia, Pumbedita, Sura, and all these other places in the Harda in Babylon, and the way it's discussed, there are no non-Jews there. Complete ghettos in Babylon. Today, it is very hard to find a complete ghetto. There are certain leniencies that can be held of. But the standard thing, I'll tell you, how do you do it? I had a friend who lived in a building in Manhattan. There were about 10 families in the Kollel living in this building, and there were 2 families. It was a 12-family building in Manhattan, but it was a small building. It was one of the side streets, okay? So they had about 2 non-Jewish families living in this building where most of the people were Hasidic. And so they had a problem. You know, the apartments were not so large. The hallways are very large, and the kids, all week long are like, playing with their strollers. You can't bicycles. You can't let your kids out alone in Manhattan, okay? But you can let your kids in your building when you know everybody and the door's locked. How are we going to handle this? So what they did, we just lost Shmuel. See if you can get him back. What? Okay. By the way, while it's thinking about it, you and I have to make up a class. Maybe we'll do it Thursday evening. Is that okay? The one that we missed on Sunday. The one we missed on Sunday. Let me think here. Maybe at the time that we're doing right now. Okay, let me write that down. Okay. Thursday, Josh, 6 o'clock. An hour and a half. It won't be any 2 hours. Okay. All right. Okay, we don't have Shmuel. No way. Yeah, I've got a guy who's supposed to come tonight. He's not here to set it up, attach it to the internet and whatever. But once it's attached, then yeah, we need some lessons on the thing. It's sitting right here. By the way, it had a little blue light which was blinking every once in a while on the outside when it came. Okay. I don't know. No, I think it was probably because I opened it. So I didn't. It's been sitting here since I got it. I have no idea, but anyway. Okay, is this the type on all the time, and all I really need to do is just open the lid and just touch it, or it's going to burn out on me? Either one would be fine. That's what I really want to do because, okay, here, they're coming back. We'll talk about it. Okay. So, all right, we waited for you, Shmuel.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. All right, so now, so what these people did in this apartment building is, here they got these 2 goyim, and the Jews who are living in the building cannot carry. So what they did is they made a small contract where the goyim knew that the Jews on Shabbos are going to be owning part of the property of the Goyim's apartment. But they knew they had to bring a lawyer, so the Goyish lawyer knew that nobody is taking possession of their apartment. It is a legal, not fiction, it's a legalism which enables people halachically to say that it is partially theirs. But in the legal system of America, they're not signing away the rights to their apartment. Okay? If the Goyim are in agreement in the apartment building, you can make an Eruv in that building. If not, and you do not have an Eruv in the city, okay, if you have an Eruv in the city, you don't need an Eruv in the building. If you do not have an Eruv in the city, which is relying on certain public things, such as the fact that the municipality is able to enter. Let's say, for example, there's a fire, they can bust into your apartment. There's a shortage, they can go in. There's a gas leak, they can go in, right? Where there's certain things where the government has rights over. If there's no agreement like that, then living in a building where there's non-Jews, in a situation where there is not an Eruv pre-established in the area around it, is a very serious problem. Okay, you cannot park your stroller in your building. Okay, you cannot put the garbage bag outside the door. You cannot put the garbage bag down the incinerator at the other end of the hall. Sorry. Okay, you got to deal with every single goy who lives in the building. If you have an Eruv in the city in general, where they're relying on certain public works, which have the rights to everyone's apartment at any time without their permission, then you have something with which to rely upon. Okay, but if that Eruv was not established, it doesn't work. Okay, again, remember, setting up the Eruv is not enough to just do that. You need to also have this matzah or something sitting around and say the bracha. Okay, fine. It has to be renewed each year. Okay. All right. Seconds. Yeah. Right. It has to be that the Eruv is still intact. This is one of the things. Every Erev Shabbos, the person who is responsible for the Eruv of the city, they have to have somebody go around and check the physical Eruv, meaning the fence structure, and make sure every single link on the fence is all still there. If, for example, after a windstorm or whatever, they're checking it really well. They're fixing it. Things are sometimes down. If it's a Shabbos where there is a big windstorm, it doesn't have to be a hurricane. I mean, in Jerusalem, when it snows, even a little bit, the Eruv goes down. So if it's Shabbos and it's snowing in Jerusalem, or I would assume anywhere, right? Who says you're allowed to carry? You've got a large doubt that the Eruv is still intact. A doubt on a D'Oraisa, who says you can carry? All right, so now again, ask your local Eruv community. The Rav will know. There are some communities where the Eruv is massive. It's attached to very, very serious things, and it is set up that, no, it's not falling down anywhere, okay? Part of what they do is they also check the area where the matzah is and make sure it's intact, okay? One of the problems with the Eruv in Jerusalem, Shmuel could understand this, is that where is the Eruv for the city of Jerusalem? It's unfortunately in the office of the Rabbanut, which is in a building which is locked, guarded, with an alarm. Nobody can get in on Shabbos without breaking Shabbos. So now, how does that work? Very good question. It's another one of the things when you'll hear people say, I don't carry in the Jerusalem Eruv. There's reasons for this, okay? Is there reasons on the other side why it's allowed? Yes. Is it relying on a leniency? Yes. Which is why you'll notice in whichever religious area someone lives in Jerusalem, Bnei Brak, wherever it is, there are also private Eruvs. There's the city Eruv, and then there's the ultra-Orthodox community making their own Eruv. Again, people who are, wearing the black hats and the beards are generally the people who are more careful about the details, and those people who are dressing like everybody else and have a yarmulke the size of an American quarter, in pink and blue, are usually relying on whatever leniency they can find. Okay, difference between the community is difference in seriousness in mitzvah observance. Okay, okay. Building an Eruv, as I said before, is so complicated that more pages, I said, of the Talmud have been devoted to this than any other mitzvah. We're not even going to go into the subject. You may never end up building an Eruv in your entire life. Therefore, skip it. I saw somebody who was relying, one of my students in Mexico, they were relying on an Eruv that they built, and it was based on certain knowledge that they thought they had. I got there. It was almost perfect. They had the Eruv for about 2 years. I took a look at it. I fixed it in about 30 seconds with a certain string in one area. But without that string, they were carrying on Shabbos in the past 2 years. It was a little nothing. It was a nothing to fix it, but it was never that way before. There was one minor detail that they didn't get. Don't try this at home, boys and girls, okay? If you're dealing with Eruvs, you have got to know what you're doing, okay? Okay, so that's the first two. That's Eruv Chatzeros and Shitufei Mavos, which is what we call the city Eruv. Let's take a look here at the picture. All right, before we move on to the next thing, let's do this, okay? All right, Shmuel, you there? And Yael? Are they there? What's that mean? Oh. Okay, they said they're there. Oh, now it says she left. Okay. 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 So basically, with this is not a touch screen, right? I use the mouse, this thing, and having it plugged in all the time. What? That's fine. Perfect. Great. And therefore, it will, even when the lid is down, let's say there's an upgrade on Skype. It'll upgrade it automatically because it'll be considered on. Okay. Hello, Shmuel. I think they're here. Hello. Okay. So here we go. Let's take a look at this picture here. Let's go through this now. I'm going to take you through the tour, so don't look at your book. I'm going to take you on my screen and show you what's going on. Okay. All right. We already spoke here about that this is the actual Eruv, besides the structure that exists. What's going on here? What's on the alleyway here? There are 4 types of territories. There's absolute public, the major street. There's absolute private, would be this guy's roof or this guy's own apartment. Okay? Then there's semi-public. This is a rabbinic area. And nearly every square meter of the planet Earth is this. Okay? What that means is forests, oceans, most rivers which are not used as traffic. I mean, in Prague you have a river going through that's, that's used for commerce. So it's like stuffed with ships and stuff like that. It's a different thing altogether. Forget that. But, most of these areas, most wilderness areas, it's like this. It's not private and it's not public because it's not used as a thoroughfare. Rabbinically, we treat it as a public area. But if I go from the public area into it, even one step, I've gone public to possibly private. If I go from private into it, I've gone from private to possibly public. In other words, this area is got a foot in both worlds, and therefore prohibited from it to either public or from it to private, from private to it or from it to private, from it to public or from public to it. In other words, it's a problem. What is this? The hallway in your building, the small side street that your house is on, where it's got a very, skinny little street, just enough for the car to go past. Your front yard, it doesn't have a fence around it. That's this area, and this is rabbinic. Now, this area, which was the same thing as this can be made into private, because this is owned by a couple of people. It's the same as a alleyway. It's not private completely. It's not public completely because you don't have these 600,000 people going there, right? This could have an eruv put over it, just like this had an eruv put through it. And like these areas around the building all had that put around it. The public area, the major street, can never have an eruv put over it. So the people on this side of the street can never cross with anything to this side of the street. Even if this side of the street has an eruv and this side of the street has an eruv, they can't cross this carrying something. Okay? But all of the little alleyways here can be combined. Here, I don't need it's going over it. Why? Because it's such a small, short little break. It's not enough to require a fenced-in thing over it. Okay? Now, what can't you do? Let's take a look here. Mom and Dad. Mom is carrying a kid, as I said before. This is a little kid. He's not walking on his own. D'oraisa. Dad, the kid is holding on. Looks like he's a little bigger. He's possibly walking. So, d'Rabbanan. Because Dad is only half carrying. Why? Let's go back to the beginning of the book. Don't have to do it. I'll bring you there. Okay? Look at this, which we had in the very beginning. Remember this page right here. How many Jews does it take to take out a carrot? Right? Usually one. Okay? If two people do the same act, it's only d'Rabbanan. One person taking out a carrot is called harvesting. Two people taking it out, it's a half of a malacha. So too here. Dad and the kid are carrying the kid. Because as Dad bends over, he leans the other way. He keeps the balance. This kid, he's a dead rock. He doesn't help at all. Okay, he's dead weight. Okay, so this is d'Rabbanan because two people are helping in the act. This, only she's doing the carrying. There's no balance going on with this kid. Okay, but you're not just carrying, even pushing. I didn't pick anything up, so what? Okay, can't do it. Okay, throwing the ball from public to private, d'oraisa. Carrying something within, just carrying the same ball more than 4 amos, is d'oraisa. Now, here we have another thing. There is a d'oraisa prohibition of using an animal on Shabbos for carrying your things. It goes under a thing called mechamer. Shalom aleichem. 1 second. Here comes my computer guy. Hold on. This is the guy who gave me the computer. Guys, hold on for just a minute. Okay. Tell you what's going on here. Okay. Here's a chair. You want a regular chair? You're used to a regular chair. Yeah. Here's a regular chair. If you don't have, I'll run upstairs. Okay, I have this thing. It was this type of thing, but it's good. We need this one. You have one? I'll run upstairs and grab one. I'll run upstairs and grab one.
If you have one of those, you don't have the adapter for the end. That's what you need. You need this. You need this adapter, right? That's what you're getting?
No, I have I take it off my old computer. Okay, and what I need is this attached, this, and just to get onto the.
Wait, you still have the cord from your old computer, the one that you gave me?
No, my old computer. They would have done on my computer. Okay, I'll be back in a minute, guys. 1 second. Hold the button. Here we go. Here we go. Sit here. Cord. Go. Here's the cord. All right. Anything you need, I'll tell you. Okay, so
The password for the Wi-Fi.
password for the Wi-Fi. 1 minute. Lebanon's thing, right? That's
Right.
here. Okay, 1 second.
I wonder why you're upstairs. You really know what
Yeah, it's one of these things here. Here it is.
Right.
That's the password. At the end, please put it under this computer. And I've got the Gmail and other stuff, passwords under P for passwords. Is all listed under there. So, okay, I'm back, guys. So let's look at a minute at this donkey. Okay, what's going on? This is a Tolada, which means it's like a, as we learned with the malachas before, it's like a subsection, but a subsection is not D'Rabbanan. Subsection of a malacha is D'Oraisa. Okay, if you causing an animal to carry or to do any of the 39 malachas, okay, in other words, this particular subcategory goes into many other malachas. If the animal is grinding for you, if the animal is harvesting for you, whatever it's doing, okay, then it's mechamer, okay, which is using the animal to do labor for you, okay, and it is D'Oraisa. Okay, fine. Now, what other things? Okay, by the way, let's say you've got your truck. It's a private domain, even if 25 people own the truck, because the back of this pickup truck is by the dimensions, just like we learned before under the Mishkan back here on page 16. Okay, when you look here, where is it? Okay, the caravan and its dimensions are such that it's called private domain. Doesn't matter how many people own it. To take off the private into public or even to semi-public, which is what's going on. Okay, here it's going into public. But let's say Aunt Minerva pulls up Erev Shabbos. 3 seconds before Shabbos, the horn goes off, and then she's in your driveway. And now she's pulled up actually, she wants to take from the car directly into your garage. The back of her pickup truck is adjacent to the entrance of your garage. It's not in your garage. It's adjacent to your garage. You're a single-family house. You're going to pull from the pickup truck into yours. You're going from one private domain to another private domain. That's her yard to your yard. But she's in your driveway. But your driveway is a Carmelite. It's a semi-public domain. You can't do that. If she has pulled into your garage, now she's in your house. That's fine. Okay? Because it's within your private domain. Okay. Now, other things, let's go now to this side of the street. Things get interesting. The roof of your building, if it is a single-family dwelling, is like the inside. It's completely private. It's fine. You can go from your house to your roof, no issue, which means if you have your sukkah on your roof, no issues, okay? If you have to go through the hallway of your building, which is owned by other people, now you have to make an eruv unless you are within an eruv, okay? And if if this happens a lot in Manhattan, you've got the, the sukkah on the roof, and you've got, Chris Goystein living on floor 5, and he hates Jews. And he's not going to agree to your making the eruv. You're stuck. You can't use your sukkah on Shabbos. Okay, unless you live up there, you can't carry between. You can use it, but you can't carry the food from your house to up in the sukkah. Everything has to be up there. Okay. Okay. By the way, just 1 second. Do you want to know, the guys here, do you want to know what he's already set up? Because he said he set up a couple of things before he sent it. Have any questions for him?
Yeah, Skype I've already connected.
Okay, great.
Just put in the password.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so now we're back here. Look out here. The C is a Carmelite. Carmelite, like the word Carmel, okay? Carmelite is that semi-private, semi-public area, okay? So if I'm going to go from the ocean, which is a Carmelite, to the private, to the public, that's a Derabanan. Why? Because the Carmelite is semi-public. All right, now, pretty much that's it. Now, there is a fourth area. I'm going to ask you to please ignore it. It's called Makom Patur. Because of many very difficult things to explain, this concept of an area which is like the top of a small post box, a very small area. Let me explain what is normally done here. Let me turn the camera. Normally, let's say somebody forgets that they have something in their pocket. They find that their handkerchief is in their pocket. And they're already outside. So now if they're in an actually public area, really public, then a Makom Patur, a area that is not considered an area. It's too small to be an area. It's top of a post box or something like that. That will work if you stood next to it. You could place it there. Which means, how do you get to it? You're 20 yards away from the thing, 20 meters away, right? You walk 1, 2, 3 steps forward, 1 step back. You don't stop. You do the tango. 1, 2, 3, back. 1, 2, 3, back. 1, 2, 3. Okay. You look like an absolute retard. They stick you in a mental institution, but you get there, okay, and you eventually get to this thing. But that works when it's in the actual public domain. When you are in an area that is a Carmelite, which most of our side streets are, there's a whole question whether this at all works. Basically, when you come into shul on Friday night, right after Kabbalah Shabbat, after the Chadri and all the Psalms you say there, you read the Mishnayos, and it talks about checking your pockets and everything before you leave your home. Getting into a situation where there's something in your pockets and trying to find a Makom Patur, and you're going in an area where you're not really in a completely public domain, is something which might happen once in a lifetime, basically.
So basically, this area, this permitted area thing, people spend a lot of time trying to understand it. Don't try to understand it. It's a waste of time in the beginning. You want to go over it later on when you're seriously knowledgeable about halacha. Great. Right now, just realize don't use it as a leniency. What happens? The inevitable happens. You have a mistake, or let's say, you're buttoning your shirt outside and the button falls off. Mistakes happen. Things happen, right? So now you have this thing in your hand. First of all, the button's muksa, because it's a shever kli, a broken part of even though the button's functional. But right now, it was part of a whole. It has become a part. Okay, so it's muksa. So you basically have to drop the thing. But let's say it's something which isn't muksa. I find something, my handkerchief in my pocket. I'm stuck. There's no place. So what do? Just shoot yourself, because you'll die. They're going to kill you at the court anyway, right? No. Okay. So what the best method of doing is, you're still going to be in a halachic problem. There's no way out of saying you're completely patur. You're completely without anything to answer for. Yeah, you got to be careful. Yom Kippur, you have to say what you're sorry for because you did not check your clothes well enough. But am I going to do a d'oraisa? Or am I going to get out of this through a d'rabbanan? Right now, I'm stuck. So right now, there is a handkerchief in your pocket. If you continue walking 4 more amos, 2 more meters, you just broke another d'oraisa. You'll say, I'll get rid of it when I get into the shul. That's, it's only another, half a block. Great. So you now get thrown off the roof 5 times, and probably because you just, you didn't, pay attention to how far you're walking, right? So what you do is you do this. You have to think for a second, okay? You don't stop. Because there's a concept called akira, the hanacha, picking up, uprooting it from the place that it's at, and rooting it, putting it down. If I have not stopped moving, I go, oh shoot, I have the stupid handkerchief in my pocket. I just keep walking like this, back and forth, and I have to think for a second. Okay, now I think there is no makom patur, no permitted area near me, because they basically don't happen. You need to angle here a little better. Okay, what you do, it's going to fall over. What you do is, as you're moving back and forth, you kind of get your pocket, and you don't pick the handkerchief up. You kind of have the thing fall out on its own as you're moving back and forth, and therefore you did not directly uproot it and directly put it down. You're only in a rabbinic problem. Only rabbinic, it's still usher. Yeah, but you're found in a situation of isser. You are right now found in a situation of prohibition. Okay? You have got to get out of this situation, right? You can't continue. You can't go nodding back and forth for the next 24 hours, okay? You'll fall asleep, okay? And even so, there's got to be some way out. So the way out is through a rabbinic way. Remember, anytime you do something not in the normal way, it becomes rabbinic, because a malacha is only a malacha if it's done in the normal way. If you do it in a non-normal way, it becomes d'rabbanan. You need to get out of this problem. You don't do this lahatchila. This is not the way you go out towards life, but it's found in your pocket. A mistake happens. You're people, okay? So then nudge it out of your pocket in a non-normal way. Get it out somehow, okay? Okay. Now, let me think here. Other things that were not discussed. I think we pretty much did it. We pretty much did it. We still have one more thing that's going to take a while to do. We're on page 89. Josh, write this down. We're on page 89, 3rd paragraph. What? 3rd paragraph. Okay. And we'll deal with that. Okay, Josh and I are going to meet tomorrow because we have a class to make up from Sunday. And, yeah, tomorrow. So Thursday, right? Sorry. And Shmuel and Josh and Shira is going to be next Wednesday, regular time, because your clocks will change. Okay? We're still on 41.
It's not even found on the page. Okay, it's on this subject, and then we're going to be moving to afterwards. Okay, all right. See you all later. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you, Rabbi. Kol Tov. Excellent class.
Thank you.